Good afternoon, everyone. Caresoft Technology would like to welcome you to our Smartsheet and Optimum webinar, Modern Work Management for the Government Grants Lifecycle. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few housekeeping items. Please note all of your lines have been muted to reduce any background noise, but if you would like to ask a question throughout the presentation, please feel free to do so using the Q&A pod at the bottom of your screen. We will set aside time at the end of the presentation to host Q&A, and our panelists will answer your questions over the line. If we are unable to get to your question, our Smartsheet team at Caresoft will follow up with you offline. Polling questions will be asked throughout the presentation, so please feel free to submit your responses. This webinar is being recorded and a link will be sent out in a follow-up email for you to view it again or share with a colleague. Before I introduce our first speaker for today, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about Caresoft and Optimum. Caresoft Technology Corp is a trusted government IT solutions provider supporting federal, state, and local government agencies, as well as education and healthcare organizations. As the master government aggregator for our vendor and reseller partners, we deliver solutions for cybersecurity, multi-cloud, big data, artificial intelligence, and more. To tell you a little bit more about Optimum, Optimum is a leading IT consulting and Platinum Smartsheet partner. Our certified consultants implement advanced Smartsheet solutions for IT PMOs, marketing, procurement and legal product development, asset management, merger and acquisition, and many other business functions and departments. At this time, I would like to introduce our first speaker for today, Elizabeth Wharton, Product Marketing Manager at Smartsheet. Elizabeth, the floor is all yours.
Looks like you guys couldn't hear me there for a second. I'll start over. Thanks again, Sarah. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Elizabeth Wharton, the lead for state and local government audience here at Smartsheet. I've been at Smartsheet for about 3 years. We'll pause a moment for our legal slide. This slide is included because this presentation may contain forward-looking statements, confidential information, and/or third-party trademarks. Let's review today's agenda. I'll start things off by setting the stage and talking about what we're seeing in the government marketplace today, as well as some of the higher level initiatives we're currently helping our government customers address. Next, Angela will walk us through Optimum's grant management solution. And finally, we'll provide you with some next steps to start getting more out of Smartsheet in your grant management work. So what does it take to meet the mission today? Government employees face many of the same challenges as the private sector employees do, but these are compounded by unique use cases and mission requirements of the federal, state, and local government. As you focus on your critical roles, every moment spent on non-critical tasks takes time and energy away from your core mission. Some of the challenges that our government customers are facing today are around the area of work execution. Work is happening in silos. With work happening across separate projects and programs, happening in antiquated legacy systems, and teams using all different kinds of processes, coordination is limited and difficult. Many of you lack the tools that are built to accommodate for the way the government works. Government agencies, again, need to execute against these unique use cases that are not often found in the private sector. Oftentimes, there's limited standardization among different departments and different agencies. Different systems mean different ways of capturing and analyzing data. Different processes and different operating procedures invites confusion, necessitates constant retraining, and creates an opaque view for leadership. Usually, that lack of common operating procedure strains executive decision-making. Siloed work streams hamper systems so much that it takes so much effort to get reports done that by the time leadership gets a view of the data and tries to make the strategic decisions, the data is unusable and outdated. This makes it really difficult to track progress, drive accountability, and most importantly, make those critical decisions that will influence your constituents. Finally, security is paramount. All of the systems you work with need to be secure. Oftentimes, they also need to comply with FedRAMP, StateRAMP, and in some cases, DISA standards. So how are these challenges being addressed? Overwhelmingly, it's with technology. Agencies and government leaders are looking for secure digital tools and solutions that will accelerate innovation, lower IT barriers, and provide transparent and actionable views into their agency's work. They want to empower their teams to make data-driven decisions so they can work with speed and efficiency. Government leaders across all areas of the government are looking to and investing in technology to address the challenges they're facing today. And these technology tools need to empower everyone in the organization without adding to IT's burden. Gartner recently noted that 80% of technology products and services, specifically digital tools and operations that require little to no coding, are expected to be built by non-tech professionals in 2024. In the state and local government space, a recent OpenGov study noted that 57% of state and local finance and administrative leaders believe the greatest opportunity for overall collaboration across departments is adopting technology that brings data together across sources. One place where we see a lot of our customers in the public sector using technology to streamline processes in their organization is in the grant management space, whether that's tracking applications, distributing funds, or reporting on impact. With $1.2 trillion authorized through the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act and $550 billion of that going towards new investments, state and local governments are preparing for how they can put this critical federal funding towards new projects. Effective grant management at all levels of the government will be a key driving force behind the success of IIJA. Whether you're already managing grants or you'll start soon with the number of projects growing, it's critical that you have the tools to securely collaborate across multiple teams and efficiently manage these funds to keep your projects moving forward. With Smartsheet, you can manage the full award cycle, collaborate across teams, automate work processes, and make better decisions faster. Now, I'm going to hand things over to Angela so she can show us how you can manage your grants in Smartsheet.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. So my name is Angela Cisneros. I'm with Optimum Consultancy Services. We are a platinum partner with Smartsheet, and we've been able to support multiple grant management implementations across the board with grantees and grantors. So today I'm going to go through some slides at a high level because I know we all want to see a live demo. We're going to be looking at the full grant lifecycle for an issuing agency, as well as taking a look at a solution for tracking grant applications from the applicant perspective. So as we've worked with more and more grant management users, we've come to identify a few pain points across the board for both grantors and grant recipients. There's a lack of visibility across the board for the overall performance of the grant and for information about the grant for the applicants. Data errors due to inconsistencies in data or unclear reporting needs. Information silos and challenges finding the relevant grant information, difficulty collaborating both internally and externally with applicants, and very manual processes for both the application and then expense submittals, being really hard to navigate and then require manual reconciliation once we get to the reporting. With Smartsheet, we've been able to alleviate these issues for multiple clients. So starting at the grant application, as the grantor, you can set specific criteria and fields as needed for your grantees. Using a grant hub, you can surface relevant information for your grant applicants to provide more clarity just from the start. Then once an application is submitted, automations can help to streamline the application review process, and reporting can help to quickly surface any applications in queue for review. Then once we get to the award stage, Smartsheet can then be configured to collect the expenses from your recipients at the appropriate intervals, and then automations can be leveraged to notify those recipients when the deadlines are coming up and to prompt their budget submissions. Using the dashboard functionality, your admin level gets a quick view of the grant performance, and then we can dig into the data as needed. Grants can then roll up into a portfolio level dashboard, so then you can get a full view of how your grants are performing across the board. So with that, let's jump into the demo to see what this looks like in practice. So I'm going to hop over to my grant hub. All right, here we go. So we're starting with the application and approval process, and we're going to walk through the full life cycle as a grant. So one of the main pain points that I've heard for a lot of our applicants is that they have a hard time finding information about grants in general. And where do you find what the relevant information for the available grants? So in our scenario, we're using a Smartsheet dashboard to provide up-to-date information about the grant and application process to the applicant. So as you can see here, we have relevant due dates, we've got eligibility information, and then we have instructions on how to apply, as well as some contact information or ways to get in touch with the agency. So this dashboard is completely customizable based on what you would want to provide for your end users. Down at the bottom, you'll find a Q&A form, which can really help with collecting and responding to specific questions. So if an applicant or recipient has either a general or specific question about their grant, they can easily fill out this form, and then your team will be notified and you can respond as appropriate. So we're going to go up to the top. We can see that our application is still our deadline. We haven't reached our deadline yet. So we're going to go ahead and walk through the application process. So over here, I've pre-populated the application with some dummy data, just so we don't have to go through that full process. But we're going to title it New University. And then as we walk through this form, we've got the ability to customize the fields to surface different information, and also to make fields required or unrequired. Down at the bottom, we've got a file attachment, so they can come in and attach any supporting documentation for their application. Now, one other feature I want to point out here is there's a couple fields that we're actually going to use to grade the applicant and assign an amount to which they are eligible for. So here we've got the revenue for the organization, and then how many community members that are served annually. We've got formulas in the background that'll take that information and give us a score and an eligible amount for that applicant. This is just something we set up for this demo, but it's completely customizable based on what your needs are. So we'll take a look at that in a minute, but once we submit our application, a few things are going to happen that I want to show you. So I'm going to go ahead and click submit. Now, when we click submit, if you're in Smartsheet, you should receive a notification right here within the app to say, here's your application is submitted. Now, we know that not all users are going to be in Smartsheet, so we can program it to send out an automation to let them know that we've received your application. And this is, again, customizable. You can update the content based on what you would like it to say. Then we also have a notification that lets our internal folks know that an application is pending approval. So once we receive that, then that'll let us know that either A, we need to go approve the application, or we can open up a report that shows us all of our pending applications. So I'm going to go ahead and open up our pending application report and give it a quick refresh so we can see. I think I already saw it there, but so we can see those the matrix that we set up, so you can see the score and the eligible amount. So as you can see here, we have the applicant score and eligible amount, and this is based on those two fields that we identified earlier on when we submitted the application. Again, this is customizable, but it is really helpful as you try to sort through your applicants and you want to make sure that you're getting the right information and that you're able to quickly have a view of that applicant status. So down here, we also see we have the approval status and then some high-level information about this specific application. Now, if we go here, this is our raw data, and we can get a fuller view of the details of this application. So if we need to dig down deeper, we can do that. We can also surface whatever relevant information from that application sheet that I just showed. So depending on the approval process, we can set up various automations to streamline the approval once the initial vetting is done. So I would come in and look at what information has been submitted, make sure we have enough information. If we don't, we can send out a notice directly to our applicant right here through our send update request. And we can populate who we were going to send it to. So we would send it to the applicant. And then we can surface the information that we want them to update. So if we just need them to update their mailing address, we can clear all this out and then just say, hey, we need an update on your mailing address. So we'll send them the fields we need them to update. They'll receive an update request in their email. I'm going to show you what that looks like in Smartsheet, just so you can get a view of that. And then whatever information they update, it will automatically translate into the application. So here, I'm going to update my mailing address to 123 Main Street. And then we're going to submit that update. And this comes through email as well, so they don't have to be Smartsheet users to access that. And then we'll refresh this screen and we should see that reflect within our application. We'll actually take a look at it on our application sheet because that might be easier to see. We scroll over and we can see that information has been updated based on what I provided in the update request. So it's a really easy way to communicate with your applicants if you need more information, and that can be as slim or as in-depth as needed. So once you have all of the information, we can either have a one-time review. As you know, there's different types of approvals within grants. So we could have a one-time review, or we could have where we review each individual application. But let's, for our example, we'll just say we'll go ahead, reviewed, and we approved this application. Once this application is approved, then we'll get another series of notifications. Our applicant will be notified of any next steps that they need to take, and then we'll move them into that award phase. So once the grant has been awarded, our main focus is then going to be to make sure we're receiving our expenses and our reporting as needed. And so a lot of that's going to be driven by using automations in Smartsheet. We can set up reminders to let them know whenever their expenditures are due. And it really be focused on collecting that grant expenditure and the reporting there from there. So every grant will vary in cadence on reporting, but in our example, the cadence is an annual report period. So when reporting is due, automations can be set up to notify the grantee that their application or their expenses are due. So here I have an email that would go out to all of our applicants to say, hey, today all of your expenditures are due. We want to make sure this form is filled out by our due date. It would send them to whatever place you want them to. In our example, we're going back to that grant hub that we showed at the beginning. And there you can see that we'll see our expense form. So down here at the bottom, we've got our expense form link. We open up that expense form and then we can go ahead and populate the fields as needed. So I'm just going to scroll through here. We've got a required field we need to fill out. So I'll fill in my email address. And then we're going to go down to the bottom and we will submit this. I pre-populated that as well, so we don't have to go through that process. Something is missing. Okay, for whatever reason that didn't submit. We're going to jump over here to our expense tracking sheet. I'll refresh this and we should see our updated expense form. So we can see the new university has been submitted, and it looks like an earlier submittal I sent in earlier. So this will give us that detailed view of our expenditures and what has been submitted. And then from there, what we really want to see is our reporting. So we've set up a dashboard to give us a high-level view of the overall performance of all of our grants. So I'm going to jump into that dashboard now. I'll give it a refresh so we can see our new content. So all this information feeds into Smartsheet. It gives us a really easy way to view the detailed level. But then we get to jump out, pull back, and look at that high level performance of the grant. So up at the top of the dashboard, we have a nice view of the overall metrics for this grant. We've got a couple reports at the top showing us the grant recipients and their burn down rate, as well as any expenditure reports that have not yet been submitted. So you can see that here. As we scroll down, we'll see more detailed information about the performance of the grant. So we can see the total spending per section. We can break that down by multiple factors. So we have by organization type and by section. And then down at the bottom, another view of the spending per organization, and then the grant spending over time. So this can be customized based on what your KPIs are, but this is a really good way to get an insight of the overall performance of the grant. And then it really can help to drive decisions about the future of the grant. How effective is this grant being? Do we need to increase the funding, reduce the funding? And then gives a really good view of the current grant life cycle. So most organizations will have multiple grants in flight. So we have the ability to provide portfolio level view of all the grants currently in flight. And this is really powerful for executive team members. So from here, I'm going to move into our grant application tracker. So this is a look, what we're looking at now, this is for the grantor view, but what about from an applicant's perspective? We have a dashboard for our applicants. This is as a let's say I'm Smartsheet University, and I want to know how many applications have been submitted, what our progress is for each of those applications, get a view for what's outstanding, what's approved, and then look at the overall spending for all of the awarded grants. So this dashboard gives you that view. From this dashboard, we can get the high-level view of the status of all applicants. Up at the top, we've highlighted the at-risk applications. So this is showing everything that's due within the next 5 days. It shows us where we're at in the status, and then gives it some high-level details of that grant or of those grants. Then below that, we have the overall application status report. So this is giving us all of the grants that we've applied for. And then it also shows us the awarded amount that we've received. We can open up this report and look at the details for all of the grants that have been received. And we can even update our amounts from this report specifically. Each of these grants can also have a full project plan to help manage the process from proposal creation all the way to award management. Now, we also have some KPIs on our dashboard just to give us a view of how our grants are overall, where we're at in our application status, where our grants are coming from, where they're being sourced from. And in this scenario, it's broken down by the colleges that have applied for those grants. So again, this is customizable based on what your KPIs are and what you need to see for reporting. Okay, let me go ahead and exit that. So using these tools, we've seen incredible gains from our clients. We've helped to streamline the tracking of the full life cycle of grants. Communication has been significantly simplified, and the expense tracking and reporting process has become very streamlined. But most importantly, we've been able to give back time to the individuals who are managing these manual processes, Excel sheets and emails. We've heard over and over again how our solutions have created more room for team members to focus on the impactful work that they're doing. So it's been a really great pleasure sharing with you guys. Thank you for your time. With that, I'm going to hand it back over to Elizabeth. You're muted, Elizabeth.
You guys, technology. One quick call out before we move to the Q&A, which is that if you're in need of FedRAMP, StateRAMP, or DISA IL4 authorized platforms, our product Smartsheet Gov is probably going to be for you. And you can reach out to your sales rep or your CSM for further information about the Smartsheet Gov product. I should note that if you don't need to be FedRAMP compliant, but you need to be HIPAA or FERPA compliant, we can address a lot of these concerns with our commercial products, and you probably don't need to move for Smartsheet Gov for things like that. Smartsheet is able to provide numerous security documents for our commercial environment, including SOC 2 reports and ISO certifications. We also align to multiple NIST recommendations. And with that, we will move to the Q&A. I'll hand it over to you, Sarah.
Awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, Angela. At this time, we'll be using the remaining portion of today's session for any questions you may have. As a reminder, please use the Q&A pod at the bottom of your screen. And it looks like we have a few coming in now. Looks like this one, Angela, I'm going to send to you. What areas have you seen time or efficiency gains with your grant management clients using Smartsheet?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've seen a ton of efficiency gain with our clients. Specifically, one client I'm thinking of, everything would come in a Word document. So for their reporting, everything would come in a Word document and they would have to transfer that over to Excel. So it was just that process alone. They gained hours of time back for every grant that they were managing. They didn't have to go through that process. And then in terms of just tracking and reporting, it's been able to provide, like I said, that meaningful information and sort of those metrics to help guide what decisions they make moving forward. Before, it was all very based on Excel, based on information that was hard to surface and hard to make meaningful. So using the both the forms and then the trackers, and then using our dashboards, they get a quick glance at what's happening and they're able to make quicker decisions, easier metrics and that type of thing. So those are, I think, time-wise, I would say, I want to check with some of our clients, but I would say hundreds of hours a year has been saved just by using Smartsheet to streamline the application process and that grant expenditure process.
Great, thank you. And Elizabeth, I'm going to send this one to you. So I know you were just going over Smartsheet Gov, and one question, there's actually two questions. So is Smartsheet authorized for the federal government to use, and where is that data hosted?
Yes, so Smartsheet Gov, like I said, is FedRAMP compliant, FedRAMP authorized. And to learn more about where the data is hosted, I would visit the Smartsheet Trust Center. You can just Google that. And again, if you're looking to use Smartsheet Gov, I would definitely reach out to a sales rep or your current CSM to learn more about that product.
Great, thank you. And so just to piggyback off of, just federal government and agencies in general, how do other agencies use Smartsheet?
Definitely. So we have a lot of different use cases. I'll go through a few of them, but the list is really endless. I'd say acquisition management is a big one. So we want to help you build frictionless acquisition processes for your agency. So that's going to be from requirements gathering to solution strategies to negotiations, awarding, performance management, everything like that. Another one is human capital and workforce management. So planning, collaboration, analytics capabilities that you need for recruiting talent, to track benefits, enable performance management. Again, and any other kind of HR priority. Another one that we see a lot is logistics and supply chain, excuse me. So, like I said, the list is endless, but that's definitely a few.
Awesome. Thank you. And so next question is, can I share information with someone who does not have a Smartsheet account? And follow-up question to that, how can citizens access some of my Smartsheet items, but not all?
Sure. So this is a great question. And it's definitely one of the places where Smartsheet shines. I will note here that I'm answering in general Smartsheet capabilities. If you are working in Smartsheet Gov, you'll need to talk specifically to your rep about these capabilities and what's available. But with Smartsheet, the answer is no. You do not need to have a Smartsheet account in order to interact with information within Smartsheet. We have a bunch of different ways that you can send one individual row, or you can send an update request, or you can publish a report to your agency's public website. There's also, if you guys are familiar with our product dynamic view or our product work apps, those are great ways to share with people who don't have necessarily Smartsheet accounts. Excuse me, let me roll that back a second. For dynamic view and work apps, you do need to have an account, but you do not need to be a paid user. But there's a lot of different ways that you can do this, and it really just depends on your security requirements and your end goal.
Awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
Next question is there a package of templates specifically for grant management that match what is being shown today?
So we do have grant management templates currently in our solution center. They are not going to be exactly the same thing that you're seeing today. What you saw today is based off of Optimum's work with their customers and Smartsheet's customers. And so those were a little bit customized, but there are templates that can get you started. I believe we have a grant management, a grant application, and a grant fulfillment template that you can go ahead and get started and start customizing for yourself.
Great, thank you. So we have another question, and it's around training. So if we would like expert support in setting up dashboards, automation, API, etc., what would you recommend?
So I will take this one, and then Angela, if you want to also kind of piggyback on what I'm about to say, I think you might want to. There's a lot of different opportunities here. Smartsheet offers free learning center articles, there's a lot of those. So we've got a lot of free training options. And then we also do have some paid engagements with Smartsheet. And that is really going to be customized to the level of how complex is your solution? What is your experience with Smartsheet? Where are you starting from? So you can do that through Smartsheet. And then you can also do it through our partners. And I'll let Angela speak to what they offer in terms of training and getting set up.
Absolutely. So let me go back to the previous question about the templates. Yeah, the templates within Smartsheet are really great. For our clients, we've actually built custom solutions based on their needs. And that's one thing that we really specialize in, is looking at how you guys are working, looking at, what you are actually needing to track, because I think every person who's involved with grant management knows that every grant is different. Every grant has different reporting criteria and things like that. So there's often a need for that sort of specialized view. So that's where our team can come in and do that work with you to understand what you're looking for and then customize based on what you need. As far as training, whenever we do an implementation with a client, we always incorporate training in that to help with the change management of whatever solution we build out. There's great resources though with Smartsheet University, with the Smartsheet tools that are out there, just to get started and start to learn about how Smartsheet works and get the basic understanding. And then if it's a customized solution, we always provide that training for our end users and for our admin users so that we can hand over the solution and you can manage it moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you both. And Angela, I am actually going to pass this next question back over to you. So You mentioned that Optimum was a partner of Smartsheet. Can you go into a little bit more of that? And was Optimum integrated somewhere for the grants management?
So Optimum is a platinum partner with Smartsheet. So what our role is let's say you're looking to build out a solution and you're not sure where to start, or you need something a little more complex than the as-built templates. We can come in and basically build the solution with you. So our process is really focused around, like I mentioned, understanding how you work and what your needs are, and then building a solution that helps to meet the needs within Smartsheet. Now, that solution is all Smartsheet based, and we'll hand it back to you once we've built it out. We hand it over to you to maintain moving forward, or we can maintain it for you if needed. But we are a partner. We build within Smartsheet, and we can always just hand our product back to you whenever we get to that point. Did that answer the question, Sarah?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Thank you. So next question, I'm going to send this one to Elizabeth. So one attendee saw some due dates noted on both dashboard views. Are those entered manually, or are those dates pulled and updated automatically from a Smartsheet database?
So,
Do you want me to take that, Elizabeth?
yeah, I was going to say, I can answer this one in general, of like the different ways that you might be able to do this. And then I'll pass it to you, Angela,
Okay.
because you have the answer because you built this demo. But I did just want to note in general, so you are going to need to put in some metadata and some information for your project, right? You're going to need to input some kind of data. From there on, it's kind of up to you. You can do everything manually, you can include all the dates, or you can take advantage of our dependency features and really have almost all of those dates automated based on the start date and the expected timeline. So that one it's really going to depend. And I'll let Angela talk about what she actually did in that solution.
Yeah, that was a great answer, Elizabeth. We in our solution for those due dates, they are pulled from a metric sheet. So you would update it in one place, and then it would update it across the solution wherever it's needed. So yeah, I think that was a great way to cover that. There are a lot of different ways to set that up. You can have it written directly in the dashboard using their text format, but we highly recommend having it in a place where you update it once and it translates throughout the whole solution.
And Angela, speaking of that, I know that we didn't necessarily get into Control Center here, but do you want to speak a little bit on the topic of entering something in one place and having scale, how that can also help with the solution?
Yeah, so the idea, I mentioned the portfolio level dashboarding. As a grantor, using Control Center will allow you basically to create an intake where you would enter the information for each individual grant, and then you could scale up, basically spin up a template set for that grant. So that would be what we saw today, is that specific information about that grant, and then we can have information roll up into a portfolio level report. And using global updates in Control Center, you can then push updates to any of your sheets or dashboards based on information that if you need to update specific information somewhere or update a dashboard to show a different format or things like that, you can use Control Center to do those mass updates as they come. And then using, so let's say if we had the grants at an intake level and we had that deadline on the intake level, we could change that deadline on the intake form, and it would push all the way through any place that that deadline is referenced. So it is a really powerful tool. And if you're looking to scale, or if you have a lot of grants to manage, I think it makes a lot of sense to use Control Center for that.
Great, thank you both. Next question is, can Smartsheet securely interface with agency or corporate systems, so accounting, procurement, etc., or accept imported data, or do these costs have to manually be reported in Smartsheet by the grantees?
I can take that one if you want, Angela. So yes, Smartsheet definitely integrates with all kinds of different systems, ERPs, CRMs. You can upload using Google Sheets, CSVs, Excel, etc. And that's going to be through our product data uploader. And that's one way you could do it, is through product data uploader. Another way is we do have pre-built integrations with things like Salesforce, and I'm losing my train of thought here. We have pre-built integrations with things like Salesforce. So integration is definitely a key priority for us, and we have the ability to integrate with. I've never run into something we couldn't integrate with in my previous 2 years of being a customer success manager, but so it's pretty wide. Angela, do you want to add anything there?
No, I think you covered it pretty well, Elizabeth.
Yeah. I will say, you know, especially in this space, you want to make sure that when you're starting to think about building a solution like this, that you think about what stakeholders you're going to want to have involved in that conversation, and the level of security of that database you want to interact with. Because a lot of the times the issue isn't that Smartsheet can't integrate, it's just that you need to get a lot of different people on board in order to provide that access. And like I said, that's where really looking at our trust center information about the security protocols we have can come in really handy when your IT team starts asking you questions about that.
Awesome. Thank you. And it looks like we have time for about one more question. So, Angela, I'm going to send this one to you. How do we reach Optimum to discuss, your help with building solutions that meet, customer needs?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'd be happy to set up a call with anyone who's interested in more information about our services. We have a team that's ready to look at what your needs are and to start looking at what that might look like, and what that any like cost, we can start estimating out what that would be. So in order to get in contact with us, I'm going to defer to Elizabeth. Will you be sending out our contact information, or should I drop my email here?
You can drop your email. We
Okay.
will be following, somebody from Smartsheet, Optimum, or Caresoft will be following up with everybody. And there is going to be a follow-up email that goes out to everybody who registered with the recording.
But I'll drop my email in the chat. Can I do that? I'll do that in the Q&A. I'll put my email in the Q&A. Feel free to reach out, and I'll connect you with the right people to help with that. It'll likely be me and Erin, because we've become the grant management specialist at Optimum. So yeah, that would be great.
Awesome.
Awesome. So I will pass things over to Elizabeth to go over next steps.
Cool. So I think we kind of already went here naturally, but the next steps would really be to, when we reach out to you after the webinar, actually, you know what, the first next step is go ahead and fill out our poll question if you don't mind. We'd love your feedback. We really want to make sure that these webinars are valuable to you. So just answering that one question poll would be super helpful. And then the next steps are going to be, we'll reach out to everybody who attended and see if there's anything that we can help you with moving forward. You can talk to your reps, get a demo scheduled. You can go ahead and start a Smartsheet trial. If you don't already have Smartsheet, you can just do that online and start working with our team to make your business case for getting started with Smartsheet or taking Smartsheet to the next level. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And Elizabeth, if you could actually just go to the next slide for me.
Yes.
Thanks so much. So I'd like to thank all of our participants, as well as Smartsheet and the Optimum teams, for being with us today. We hope the information you received during this webinar has been helpful for you and your organization. Everyone will be receiving a copy of the recording. If you have any further questions or would like to request more information, please don't hesitate to call or email us. Thanks again and have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.